We're going to go ahead and get going. If anyone else logs in, they could be able to either ask some pertinent questions toward the end or just listen to the recording. So I just want to first of all thank you all for joining today. This is actually our 5th meeting now, public outreach meeting for the Willamette water treatment plant. And I just want to kind of first introduce or talk about the project a little bit, and then we'll get into the specific scopes of work today that we're going to be talking about, which is fire suppression, plumbing, and HVAC. Kind of a little housekeeping item here is one, make sure, like I said earlier, we are recording this, so to get the best quality recording possible, if you all could please mute your lines and turn off any video feeds, so that way it preserves the bandwidth. So some introductions here. So on the phone with us is Dave Fagerstrom, our Senior Project Manager. Myself, Michael Nair, one of the project managers, and then also Jared Wagner, project manager with Sundt. And on the phone with us as well is Matt Gribbins with the Willamette Water Supply Program, which is the owner and primary client of this project. And what we do ask is if you could please put your email contact information post it in the chat of this meeting, or feel free to email any of the contacts you see here on the screen. So that way we can make sure we get your information into the system and make sure that you are kept are posted on any future communications regarding the project and bidding opportunities. All right, so some introduction about Sundt Construction. Up in the Northwest, we have an office in Vancouver, Washington. We've been in business since 1890. We were founded in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and since we've kind of migrated into Arizona, and we are headquartered in Tempe, Arizona. But as you see here on the map, we are currently doing business primarily in all the Western states, and we have offices where you see the black dots. And most recently, it's actually not shown on here, is we actually just opened an office in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're starting to do work on the East Coast as well, which is fantastic news. Kind of a tidbit of information about Sundt is, we are 100% employee owned, but unlike most employee-owned construction companies, our self-performed craft are also 100% employee owners, which is pretty awesome because it's able to give the power of ownership all the way down to the individuals performing the work in the field. So for the agenda today, we want to, first and foremost, we always start off every meeting with a safety share. Safety is a keystone to our program and to who we are as a company. So we try to start off every meeting with a safety share. Next, we'll go over a 10,000-foot view, project overview. We'll review the project schedule. We'll also review bid schedules and bid opportunities. We'll talk about instructions to bidders, exhibits, and attachments. And we'll have a little bit of discussion about best value, which some of the bidding opportunities are selected to be best value, and we'll go through what that is about. We will also discuss some of the unique design requirements on the project that affect quite a few of the trades. That will be seismic design requirements as well as delegated design. And then we'll go into in-depth discussions regarding Division 21, 22, and 23. And then open it up to you all for a Q&A session. All right, so safety share. One thing we want to talk about that we're trying to spread the word on, which is innovative PPE. We're always in the mindset of continuous learning, and that means just like safety, where safety is continuous improvement. Unfortunately, upon incidents that happen, right? Lessons learned are created, and a plan of action is put in place. We are being proactive based on the industry of where it's heading, as well as lessons learned from other companies that we're trying to make sure that we don't expose our employees to. So one of those is we are implementing that all of our hard hats have to have basically a chin strap. And the reasoning for that is that statistics show is that, when working at a height, you're more likely to lose your hard hat in the event of a fall. And then when you fall, you end up hitting your head on an object or the ground, which completely defeats the purpose of why are you wearing a hard hat, other than preventing dropped items from above. So on the left-hand side of the picture here is kind of the new and upcoming hard hat that is being rolled out within our company, that we're requiring, that we're transitioning all of our Sundt personnel, so both administrative staff and self-performed trades folk, to transitioning over to these type of hard hats. And typically they're called like rock climbers hard hats. But we found, the traditional style of hard hats that have the brim or this sort of a sun visor really doesn't provide much of a purpose of truly being a sun visor. So, switching over to this new style hard hat is going to reduce risks in the event of falls, as well as, they make tons of attachments that are able to attached to these hard hats that currently aren't available with the current style of hard hats. So we just encourage, like I mentioned, this is something that Sundt is rolling out, but we encourage our subcontractors and vendors to look at options when it comes to innovative PPE. All right, project overview. So the project we're talking about today is the water treatment plant, but this is a portion of the overall program that the Willamette Water Supply Commission is implementing. Our client, which is the Willamette Water Supply Commission, is a conglomerate of the Tualatin Valley Water District, City of Hillsborough, and the City of Beaverton. Together, they've come together to create the Willamette Water Supply Commission, and they have designed and developed a $1.3 billion program, which is to provide fresh water from the Willamette River down by Wilsonville and distribute it amongst the cities of the current cities that Tualatin Valley Water District supplies, as well as the City of Hillsborough and City of Beaverton. So from the down at the Willamette Willamette River is the raw water facility that's currently under construction right now. And then about 5 to 8 miles upstream, or up the pipeline from there, is the water treatment plant. That is the one we're talking about today, which is located right here. And then from there, there's an additional 25 miles or so of distribution pipeline that goes out throughout the community to deliver water to the end users. So that right there is where the water treatment plant is located in Sherwood. So today we're specifically talking about the water treatment plant. Something to note to everyone is that this is a CMGC delivery method. Sundt was awarded through a pre-selection process to be the CMGC on this project. We've been involved since early design phase and have been instrumentally involved with CDM Smith, the designer, and the program to deliver the drawings to you all to be able to bid by. So a little bit more about the project. So here's a little bit zoomed in view of where the project is. It is at the half-mile south of the Tualatin Sherwood Road and 124th Street intersection. This property was specifically chosen because this plant is designed to be seismically resilient to withstand a major seismic event. So one of the things that we want to make sure is clear to all bidders is that this property sits on a knob of stable basalt granite bedrock. And it was chosen that way, like again, for seismic resilience, but it does pose some challenges because blasting is going to be required for most excavations. So both structural excavations as well as utility excavations. Currently, the site is a greenfield site, heavily forested. From what we can tell, has never been another property is not, or structure has never been on here. The primary AHJs or authorities having jurisdictions involved with the project is the Oregon DEQ, Washington County, City of Sherwood, and the Tualatin Valley Fire District. Just want to note to everyone that there are other AHJs that do have some responsibility, but the ones listed are the primary AHJs that we're going to be dealing with. So the project is located on a 23-acre site, which is pretty much what you see here on the drawings. There's multiple treatment areas on the project. There also includes a 15,000 square foot admin building, which is designated as a Class A office space for the administrative personnel for the program and for operations folk operating the facility. There's 40,000 cubic yards of structural concrete associated with this project. Earthwork wise, there's approximately 65,000 yards of just cut and fill for the site, 180,000 cubic yards of structural excavation, and then an additional 120,000 cubic yards of pipe excavation. And as previously mentioned, all of that will involve drilling and blasting. There's also involved in this project is $20 million of process equipment. There is a 10 million gallon pre-stressed concrete reservoir, which is the large circular structure on the right-hand side of the picture there. There are multiple pre-engineered metal buildings on the site, and and most importantly, there's multiple building trade opportunities, and that's why we're doing these outreach sessions, is to be able to drum up as much support and knowledge about the project to be able to get people to interested to bid it. So this is one of the main process building. This is a little bit different than your standard water treatment plant. This is a consolidated layout where there's multiple processes really within one large building. So starting on the left-hand side of the picture, that is the a one-story administration building. Inside the admin building, there's about 10 or 12 offices, as well as a full laboratory, restrooms, and the main SCADA room or programming room for the plant, and then also locker rooms for the staff. Just to the right of there is the ballasted flock. So the water, ballasted flock is really the beginning of the treatment process. And then from there, it goes into the ozone generator and contactor facility, which is area 26. And then from there, it flows into the filters, which is area 28. The filters is a GAC and sand system. Once it goes through the filters, then it will go into the UV disinfection and maintenance building, which is area 30 on the bottom right-hand side of the picture. And then the other areas on the picture is area 33 and 34, which is the main chemical and the outdoor chemicals areas. To be able to make all the processes work and function correctly, a lot of chemicals are used through the water treatment process, and this is where they're all stored. A couple other structures is the finished water processes. So we have the finished water pump station. This is where the incoming line from the raw water facility that's down on the Willamette River comes into the structure, and it gets pumped over to the main process building. Once it comes out of the main process building, it comes into a splitter box or an EQ overflow structure. Sorry, not the EQ overflow, the EQ splitter structure. And from there, it either goes to the clear well or it goes to the EQ overflow basin. EQ overflow basin basically allows for additional capacity, but also when things happen, if the water happens to get out of spec or doesn't meet the quality that's expected, it'll get diverted to the EQ overflow basin to be able to be either additional treatment or to dispose of. The clear well handles, again earlier, it's a 10 million gallon clear well structure that handles the finished water. So it's been suitable for clean use for distribution to the public. So it stores there and then gets pumped back out through the finished water pump station through the transmission lines to people's homes and businesses. And then these couple structures here, this is the solids handling structures. So throughout all the processes, we call them solids, are pulled out of the stream and are sent over to these few structures here. So it comes into the thickeners. The thickeners basically thicken, add chemicals and basically cause coagulation and help thicken the solids. And then from there, it gets pumped through the thickened sludge pump station into the thickened sludge holding tank. That's just the holding tank is really just for additional capacity. And then from there, it gets pulled into the solids dewatering building. The solids dewatering building basically squeezes as much water as possible out of the solids, out of the thickened solids to extract as much water as possible. And then the leftover product is basically dumped into a truck, into a dumpster or a truck, and it gets hauled off site for disposal. All right, so going into project schedule. So this is a very high level view of our project. We do have a very detailed P6 schedule that will be handed out with the bid documents, but for the purposes of this meeting, this is a very high level Excel schedule. We're looking at starting clear and grub in Q1, Q2 of next year. After that, because of the drill and blast, there's quite a bit of work that needs to happen to be able to make the site ready. So drill and blast and underground piping has a couple months to be able to get in there. So really other trades start trickling in about Q3 of 2020. And then really the building from the ground up, the concrete will basically drives the critical path with the other trades kind of following right behind concrete. And then as the structures start completing, that's when the other finished trades start coming in. So architecturals and mechanical HVAC start trickling in at that point. And then the process mechanical team comes in, finishing everything up and ensuring that all the systems function the way they should. And then we go into a fairly lengthy startup and commissioning process of the plant, and then trail into once the plant is up and operational, then we have to go through and ensure that the transmission system and pipelines are functioning the way they should. And then we do have a late GMP, which is will be bid out in 2023. And that is really just kind of the final touches on the property. So we are paving and sidewalks, hardscaping, irrigation, landscaping, and fencing. So that package will be sent out in 2023 for bid. All right, so bid schedule and bid opportunities. So we recently combined what we previously called GMP 1 and 2 into GMP 1, and we are working on finalizing the exact dates for bid advertisement. But right now we're looking in bid advertising here in probably more toward early October, with bids will be due. Actually, we need to update this. My apologies. Bids will be due in actually early to mid-November to give you a 6-week bid time. So we will we'll make sure that this gets properly updated and transmitted out to everybody. As I mentioned earlier, the last GMP, which used to be old 3, is now GMP 2. That'll be bid out in 2023, and like I said, that's really just the final landscaping and hardscaping, sidewalks and stuff like that. Project delivery wise, so there, as mentioned, as I just mentioned, there's multiple guaranteed maximum prices, or GMPs as we call them, and Inside of those GMPs, there are over 70 work category packages that essentially provide everyone the bidding opportunities. Every work category package is going to have a defined scope of work, so it really gives you the parameters of what our expectations are that you're bidding and ultimately what your scope will be when we contract with you. Most of the work category packages are going to be bid as a low bid, best responsive process, but there are a few work category packages that are also going to be bid out as a best value with qualifications. So really it's a cost plus qualifications for a few of the work packages, and we'll show those here in a little bit. So this is, so as mentioned earlier, we've been involved from the early onset of the project to help look at constructability, but also look at cost for the project. And this is the current estimated cost broken down by CSI for the entirety of the project. As you can see here, today we're going to be talking about fire suppression, plumbing, and HVAC. Fire suppression is, right about 1 million, 1.2 million. Plumbing is about 2.25 million, and then HVAC is sitting right about 5 to 6 million in that range. So again, we're specifically focusing on the three packages, work categories today: fire protection, plumbing, and HVAC. All three of these will be bid out in GMP 1. Our intention is to issue those all as subcontracts, and all three of these will be issued as low bid, best responsive selection method.
And Mike, if it's all right with you, we'll skip the best value discussion today, given that the three participants for fire protection, plumbing, and HVAC are not going to be relative to that. So we'll skip through the best value and just move on from there.
Okay, perfect.
If anybody's interested in hearing more about the best value information, these slides are going to be, and the presentations from previous presentations are recorded and posted on the website that we'll share with you at the end.
All right, perfect. All right, instructions to bidders, exhibits, and attachments. All right, so components of the bid package. So when we send our, we'll have an invitation along with detailed instructions to the bidders. So basically, these instructions will have a very prescriptive step-by-step of what we're looking for, what information we need from you, key milestones, such as RFI deadlines, addenda deadlines, as well as contact information for which Sundt estimator is managing the work category package that you are going to be bidding on. So that way you have the direct point of contact of who to reach out to. They'll also involve the detailed scopes of work, which essentially include the inclusions and exclusions of the scope. So really, like I said earlier, defining the parameters of what your scope is. That way it gives you a clear, best picture of what we expect your cost to include. We'll have explicit bid forms. So each work category package will have a bid form that's been customized and unique for each scope of work. The reason why we have a explicit bid form is that way when we collect everyone's bids, we're able to compare line item by line item to make sure that everyone is relatively within the same window of cost based on the breakdown, the line item breakdown, to be able to make sure that there's no abnormalities or no one really out in left field, as I'll say. And if there is, that gives us the opportunity to be able to dig into those details a little bit more to figure out, possibly why that would be. We'll have exhibits and attachments within the bid package, and I'll go over that here on the next slides. Like I said earlier, we'll have a detailed construction schedule, all the drawings and specifications. So when this project goes out to bid, it will be 100% design stamped documents. So, some CMGC methods will go to bid at, 60% or 90% design. These are 100% design documents. Also included will be geotechnical reports, and then other supplemental information such as site logistics, laydown plans, excavation and stockpile plans, etc. So instructions to bidders. As I said earlier, this is a detailed prescriptive instructions of really what we need from you, conveying information to you as well about deadlines, bidding requirements, subcontractor pre-qualification. We'll also talk about kind of an overall summary statement of work, how submittals, schedules, project closeout are going to be handled, the WIFIA requirements. So about WIFIA, WIFIA is a federal funding program for water and wastewater projects. And one of the components of WIFIA is this project is has to adopt Davis-Bacon wages, as well as it requires that we have AIS statutes, or American
Iron and Steel.
American Iron and Steel requirements that basically similar to Buy American, that regarding anything with steel components. Another item to point out as well is that this project, because there's local state funding for this project, is that we also have to adopt the prevailing wage from BOLI, Oregon prevailing wage. So the way that will work is, if you have a given trade, and you have to compare both the prevailing wage as well as the Davis-Bacon wage, and you have to pay the higher of the two at a minimum. And then also we'll discuss in this instructions bidders will be warranty, insurance, and bidding documents. As mentioned earlier, there will be exhibits and attachments that will be available for everyone, part of bid time. So the attachments are really, it's the bid form. Will include sample agreements of both of our purchase order and our subcontract, so you all can be able to review the terms and conditions. And then we'll have exhibits A through R, which basically provide just additional information for all the bidders. As mentioned earlier, each work category will have a scope of work, so that's your exhibit A. Then there's special project requirements, project schedule, etc. It's important to note that all the exhibits will be included in your subcontract or purchase order. The attachments will not. The attachments are really meant for use during bid time only, but the exhibits A through R are contractual documents. All right, seismic design requirements. So as I mentioned earlier, this project was specifically selected. One of the primary design components of this project is that it needs to be seismically resilient. And I failed to mention earlier is the reason why for that is in the event of a large seismic event, this project is meant to be resilient enough that it can be able to be up and operational in a very short period of time after said event, and be able to ensure that clean water is being distributed to the community. And so because of that, there are some very stringent seismic performance requirements, which there's a spec, very detailed spec, 018829, that requires specific design requirements and performance requirements of different scopes of work. So, as you see here on the upper right-hand side, the section includes architectural, fire suppression, plumbing, process mechanical, building mechanical. So really the three scopes that we're talking about today will have some sort of seismic performance requirements. And that could be as simple as expansion fittings or pipe supports or duct supports that need to ensure that they're able to withstand a seismic event. And so the way to get qualifications to meet the specs is there's kind of three ways of providing said design requirements, and that is through analysis or engineering calculations, through testing, so literally taking a product and testing it either using like a shake table or other method to be able to simulate a seismic event and ensuring that it's able to withstand a large event, or through experience. And what that means is if the product that is being provided is shown to have recently existed or survived a similar seismic event of expected magnitude. That experience can then be utilized to justify the performance requirements of that product.
All right, and then I talk a little bit about delegated design requirements, which has some overlap with the seismic requirement. So there's a number of delegated design requirements on this job, and those delegated design submittals are designated as design build. So a little bit about that. So each one of the delegated design submittals would need to be stamped by a professional engineer from the state of Oregon. The abbreviated list of those delegated design items, and each of these can be found in the drawings or specifications is below. I've highlighted I've brought up the ones that are specific to the three scopes we're discussing today: fire suppression, plumbing, and HVAC. The specifications and drawings will explain exactly what component of the delegated design the subcontractor is responsible for. A good portion of these, like we're talking with the seismic design, is related to the seismic design. So the hangers and supports, expansion fittings and loops, vibration and seismic controls are all very specifically related to delegated design, very specifically related to the seismic components and seismic requirements on the job. And so those are going to need to be designed by the subcontractor's professional engineer and submitted for approval. Wet pipe sprinkler systems is very typical for being delegated design. We also have a number of the HVAC components that are going to be delegated design in there as well. So the hydronic piping, pumps, DDC controls, dampers, HVAC fans, power ventilators, electric boilers, heat exchangers, and the packaged heat wheel energy recovery units. So there's a number of these things that I just want to make sure everybody's aware of as you go into the bidding phase of the job that you'll need to make sure that you take into account and really take a look at those delegated designs to make sure that you have them covered appropriately. And then with that, we'll jump into some of the scopes. So first one is Division 21, fire suppression. So within that main process area, we have fire suppression. About 64,000 square feet of that main process area is going to require coverage of a fire suppression system. That's going to be a combination of both wet and dry systems. That main building is separated into 6 seismic zones, and there's very large seismic movement requirements. So when we go back and look at those delegated design and look at the expansion loops, fittings, and hangers, those will be needed to take into account. In coordination with fire suppression, plumbing, HVAC, and process mechanical, we're asking that our subcontractors coordinate with us on the building information modeling. So fire suppression, whenever we get that delegated design and your design is complete, we'll integrate that into our model to ensure that we're coordinated with the rest of the trades and make any adjustments as necessary before this stuff starts getting flown up. Like I mentioned, there was both a wet and dry system. The dry system is meant for the chemical storage area. That chemical storage area is this area right down here is your chemical storage area. Based off of our estimate a couple months ago, we're looking at this being about a $1.2 million package for those with those several of those delegated design items. Division 22 for plumbing. So our estimate for plumbing is from a couple months ago was about $2.2 million. We mentioned early on that the site is basically on a basalt outcropping, which is going to require blasting in order to access any of the underground and excavations. The blasting scope would include the blasting for any of those underground lines. There is very minimal underground piping at the administration building, but there is plumbing lines that work their way through the rest of the facilities. So there is some underground there. The scope of supply for the plumbing would include air compressor as well as all of the air compressor lines. Circulation and sump pumps. There's some floor drains and trench floor drains that would go into the buildings and get cast in. Air dryers, a number of different water heaters, both tank and tankless water heaters, and that includes the emergency eye wash stations and showers. Within the administration building, there's of course a couple locker rooms with showers and bathrooms, and there's also within the process area, there's another bathroom up in there. So we've got a couple of those. 8 individual systems. So when we talk about air compressor, plumbing, drain lines, condensate, there's 8 individual systems for plumbing. Again, it's going to traverse different seismic zones as it goes through the entire administration building. So hearkening back to the delegated design and seismic requirements on this, plumbing is going to be real critical to the scope of work. There are, I did just mention emergency eye wash stations. There's quite a few emergency eye wash stations. Like we said, there's going to be a number of chemicals on the job, and so we'll have to locate one of those eye wash stations and showers within each one of the chemical areas. Looking over at Division 23, so there's 150,000 square feet of area that requires to be conditioned. The conditioning system for most of this is going to be by hydronics. There's a couple direct exchange units that set up on rooftops, but by and large, the majority of the buildings are going to be receive their HVAC through a hydronic system. So that skid in the bottom right-hand corner is the hydronic skid. It's a large skid required as the plant for handling the whole job. So there's a couple delegated design submittals associated with that, to include that skid and coming from the specific manufacturer that it is specified. So we've got a number of different types of ductwork on the job site between stainless steel, aluminum, and fiberglass reinforced and galvanized ductwork. Depending on the chemical environment and the corrosivity of that environment will change the type of ductwork. So the FRP ductwork within that main chemical area and some of the other metal types within other areas where that chemical corrosivity dictates. So the hydronic piping as well, so the stainless steel, copper, steel, PVC, and PEX piping. So a number of different types of pipe required for the hydronic system. It includes all the air coil units, the direct air exchange fans on the roof. There's a boiler and a couple other large units that are included in this.
All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is our currently our 4th subcontractor outreach webinar. All the previous ones have been uploaded to the ourreliablewater.org website. So if you need to, you can feel free to watch those there. So we do have a few more coming up each week over the next month and a half. So next week we will be going over electrical and instrumentation. We'll open up for open discussions and questions. Anybody? And if you don't want to open up, turn on your mic, you're more than welcome to go ahead and type something into the chat box, and we can answer your questions by that way. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, everybody, today, and look forward to work with you here in the near future. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. And if you have any questions that occur, our email addresses are on there, and you'll be able to find them on the website as well.
Thanks for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.